What is iconography for you?
Stripping down concepts to their very essence.
Are there any moments where you've had imposter syndrome, and how were you able to handle it?
I can't ask someone to believe in me if I don't believe in myself. There aren't a lot of icon designers in the Nigerian space, so it was very easy to just get to the top 10%, right?
What was the highest you've earned from a project designing icons?
When I started, I wasn't great. Sometimes that's also a perk, is that you don't know you're not good at it. So there's no one judging you.
Are you scared of AI taking over your role?
I think at this point, I might be a fan of it.
In the modern age, is being a generalist better than being a specialist?
It depends on what you're optimizing for. You asked the kid what you want to be when you grow up, and the person said happy. And he said, you don't understand the question. But how smart are you if you've not figured out how to be happy?
Behind every design is a decision. Behind every product is a person. Behind every success story is a journey most people never get to hear about. The creative industry often celebrates the outcomes, but we are interested in the process, the experiences, lessons, failures, and breakthroughs. The defining moments that shape the people behind the work. Over a glass of wine, we are going to have honest conversations with some of the most influential designers in Africa, developers, founders, artists, and creative leaders building the future across Africa. Because sometimes the most valuable insights aren't found in a portfolio or a website. They're found in the stories behind them. Hi, I'm Avisi Gedosa, and this is Wine and Design by UDC.
Our first guest is a product designer, software engineer, and product leader, whose career sits in the intersection of design, technology, and innovation. Over the years, she has built products, led teams, and contributed to some of Africa's most exciting technological companies, demonstrating what is possible when creativity and technical expertise come together. Her journey offers a unique perspective on both the craft of design and the realities of building and designing in Africa. Beyond her professional achievements, she is passionate about helping others navigate their journey, sharing insights on growth, leadership, and the future of design. As our very first guest on this episode of Wine and Design, we couldn't think of a better person to help us kick off conversations about creativity, career growth, technology, and what it truly means to build and design. Please join me as I welcome Linda Ojo. Hi, Linda. Thank you for joining. Welcome to Wine and Design. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very fine. That was such a kind intro.
Thank you. My first question for you. You studied biomedical engineering. And how did that journey happen before you moved into design?
I'll say somehow I guess I've always been at an intersection, right? Yeah. When I was done with secondary school, and you would have to decide what you'd study. Mm-hmm. And honestly, then I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my future. But after counseling and stuff, I just felt it would be probably medicine or engineering. Mm-hmm. And that also influenced the subjects I took in JAMB. And so I took, I think, biology, physics, English, maths. Yeah. And so when I was done with school and I had to, apply to the uni, I had picked, ironically, computer science as my first choice. Yeah. And then I saw biomedical engineering. I was like, okay, that sounds fun also. I wasn't sure what to do between engineering and design. But the thing is, I just didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And I chose biomedical engineering. And because of what I had written in JAM, they gave that to me. And I was just happy to get an admission at that point. And so that's how I started studying. I studied biomedical engineering. Mm-hmm. And it was like a 5-year course. It was really cool, but that was it.
Mm-hmm. And before going into school, what was, younger Linda Ojo, what did she think she wanted to do? Because, nobody thought I would want to do design. But you're smaller, you looking back in the years, what was your dream? What was your passion do you want to become? I wanted to become a footballer. So I was what did younger Linda Ojo wanted to become in the future?
So when I think of younger Linda Ojo, she was just curious, right? I was in science class, and the counselor then was like, "Oh, he thought I'd be great, in arts," but you know how, schooling in Nigeria, it felt like there was like this, the way they would portray the different classes. And
Yeah.
it was like, okay, science is hard and arts is like not so hard. But
Yeah.
things like I was looking for a challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really like the art classes, but I did enjoy some of the science classes. But what I'm trying to say is that I was a science student, but I remember enjoying like reading some of the books that the art students would, read, like Purple Hibiscus and Lord of the Flies. I was always borrowing their books. So there were aspects of art that I liked. I also took on fine art, even though as a science student, because I enjoyed drawing and just exploring arts. Like I would create a mosaic or something. So a part of me always felt an affinity to arts and design, but it felt like it didn't have the challenge that I found in the science classes. But looking back, everything was everything is actually hard. I didn't enjoy like the government classes they took or any of those things. I was just always trying to pick and curate something that fit me, but there was no space for that. So I was just a science student that was, dabbling in art stuff.
And that is really interesting, knowing that you loved art, but you had to study, science. You have to be. So I would love to ask, what do you think, really sparked that interest between, okay, you did science, which is biomedical, and what really made or gave you that spark? Like, you're really good in art or you're really good in design. What was that stage, from your journey or wherever you are? Like, where did you really get that approval within yourself? Like, oh, I'm doing science, but I really love art and I really want to go into design.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the thing is that I'm big on curiosities. I always chase my curiosities. I think that growing up here in Nigeria, and when you would see artists create really realistic drawings of, popular icons, you'd see them selling them by the roadside. I didn't know anyone that owned an art gallery. I didn't know anyone that did art for a living that I looked up to.
True.
Right? It was highest musicians, and I can't sing. I can't sing. So I think that there was a lack of representation for me growing up, and that fed into the decisions that I made. But after working as a developer for a while, from time to time, I would always ask myself, what is the inner child in me craving, right? And even when I started with engineering, like I picked front end because I assumed that, I remember they were like, why front end? I was like, oh, that's where the colors are. I didn't know that the max is hex codes. And and I wouldn't even be picking the hex codes, right? The product designer would. So after working as a developer for a while and still searching my core about the things that I wanted to do, I knew that I was always curious about design. I was curious about coding software, and I got into that, but there was that curiosity about design that had not yet been satisfied. And in thinking of what the next organic step could be, it felt like, okay, there is the next affiliate to design in this tech space is product design and UI UX design. And so I took a chance and said, okay, I'm stepping in that direction towards creativity.
That's really amazing to hear. And before I ask any further question, this episode or this show is about wine, right? So I would love to serve you wine, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you. And while I do that, my next question would be involved, like you talked about front-end engineering before moving into design. What would be your most challenging parts in that transition? Like, what do you think was very difficult in your journey, especially moving into design? Or did you feel like engineering was hard, or you just moved into design because you loved it?
So I feel like engineering is hard, and so is design. But I think with engineering, then I found my, like, there was a blocker. So when I'm doing something, I love like learning and just being really passionate about it. And I was working solely as a front end person. The part of like, design the user experience and, the look of the app, like I didn't really do much of that. And I was just finding a way to kind of blend things together. And moving into product design, then I think the first thing that hit was like, okay, with engineering, things aren't really subjective most of the time. It's like, it's like, okay, it works, the form works, okay, you
Let's
disable the
go.
button, if this field is not this thing, blah, 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 you push, you merge. But then there were fixed targets on and definitions of what it meant for something to work
Yeah.
in software engineering. But then coming to design, and all of a sudden I kept hearing it's subjective, make it pop.
Make it bigger, make the logo bigger.
So it was like, wait, what's going on? Like, I've made something that I feel like satisfies or solves the problem, but
True.
then there are multiple ways the problem can be solved. So shifting from that to design, there was the intention to make sure that I separate who I am as a designer from my design. And when your designs are being critiqued, it's the designs that are being critiqued, not you.
Not yours.
I know it's not personal. And I think during like one of the first UDC panels I attended, someone asked a question similar to that, and I said, and they're like, oh, what if the client is asking you to design something that you know is not good and everything? And I said, well, the client is paying you to design something for them, right? At the end, like, they decide what is okay for them. And I mentioned that even if you're done with work and it doesn't meet your standard, there's something called like a director's cut in film, right? You must not present the approved work all the time. You can, create your own variation and use that instead, but obviously with discretion. But yeah, in general, the whole subjective
Parts of design.
that was brand new to me.
Talking about subjective, and design is really a subjective part of tech. Is there any moment, or are there any moments where you've had imposter syndrome, right? And first of all, before you answer that, I would love you to talk about what is imposter syndrome. And is there any moment in your career moving into design where you've had imposter syndrome? And to our guest, Linda is an amazing icon designer, and I feel like that is a part of design where there are no too much crowd, right? And how, first of all, what is imposter syndrome, and how were you able to handle it? Like examples and how you're able to handle it.
I think like imposter syndrome. That I think I wrote an article about it like then.
Yeah.
But it's basically doubt. Imposter syndrome is doubt, right? And it's doubt that's based on something. You define what that something is. It's something that many people face, especially beginners, but it's not something that ends with time. It's something that you put a stop to intentionally.
Yeah.
Doubting your abilities, not trusting your gut, thinking you're not good enough to be in a room when you are already in the room. So in defining what imposter syndrome, I think it's just doubt, and usually it's doubt that has a weak foundation. Sometimes you have doubt and you should look into it like weaknesses that you should, address. But sometimes if they are unfounded, you should move on and, change your mindset towards it. There was a second part of the question. I focused on the definition.
Yeah, how were you able to overcome, because every designer, every human faces doubt one way or the other, faces fear. Well, how were you able to overcome that?
I think I would say that I can't ask someone to believe in me if I don't believe in myself, right? I knew that if I wanted people to bet on me, I needed to bet on myself. I just need, and many of the popular short phrases that are like said, like advice, oh, believe in yourself, follow your heart. They're like a summary of years and years of compounding philosophy that have been proven over time to be true. So, believing in yourself, basically,
Just a
like,
summary.
yeah, you have to trust that the things you care about are important and act like it. You know, if you care about something, if you create something, act like it, and others will catch up.
Sorry, that's really amazing to hear. And you mentioned about really believing in yourself. And during that process, there are always like quiet times in a journey. There are some times whereby, okay, nobody's believing you. You have to believe in yourself. And this goes to my question is, what sacrifices or what's the sacrifice that people have not seen, people don't see, especially in your journey? Because you're a special kind of designer, I would say, especially what you do. So what is a sacrifice that people don't see that, I would love to know about that?
I think that many people have, and you might relate also, usually that there might be months or years of nothing but boring work.
True.
You're just head down doing the work. It's not exciting. You're not good yet. And you know it.
You never savvy the work at all.
As in-
You have to understand that.
yeah. And I think like most times, like we go through that phase. And even if you're someone that like picks up new hobbies, you always find that at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Or it's just boring, you're trying to figure out the principles and you kind of get comfortable with not knowing. So in terms of for iconography specifically for that path, when I started, like I didn't know, I wasn't great, but I did. Sometimes that's also a perk, is that you don't know you're not great. You don't know you're not good at it. So there's no one judging you. And especially also maybe because like there aren't a lot of icon designers in the Nigerian space. So it was very easy to just get to the top 10%, right? Like by the time you've designed like maybe 3 icon sets, you probably design more icon
More
sets
than
than
most
the
people.
average person. So yeah, but like if you, but I also am not ashamed of, if you go to my Twitter and you like scroll through my media, like you see maybe some 2022 or something where it's like doing more icons, like you see the ugly work, you see. I think the first one I posted was something around like The Office. I like the show The Office, and I tried to like, I don't know, incorporate it into some stuff. So I created like 4 icons associated with the concept of The Office, and I look like really, really bad. Like, yeah, really, really bad icons. But I just kept like pursuing that and just posting about it when nobody even cared about it, and the people that mattered noticed. Yeah.
And you're talking about people that mattered notice. You have worked with some of the biggest design companies that I know of, talking about Figma. What is the misconception about your field that most people don't talk about? And most people are really scared because, oh, why am I designing only icons when I can be designing a full-fledged product? So, like, what's the misconception that, people really hear about or is really popular in the space about your field, especially designing and icons?
I think maybe like because there are a lot of icon sets out there. I think by default icon sets come as free. There could be a question of, wait, why do I even need custom icons, right?
Yeah,
But the thing is,
yes.
like, don't you understand that the free icon set was also designed by someone, right? There's always a designer behind the scenes, and the same way you have custom type when there are a lot of fonts and types
Fonts,
out there, like
yeah.
that's the same way it is with custom icons, and the same way you could take a mock-up and slap your brand design on it
Yeah.
is also the same way you can set up a whole photo shoot, right, relating to your brand and go with that. So it just depends on usually the point at which the company is
Yeah.
or the client is, like what they can afford to do
Okay.
for their brand. But once you can, there's nothing that is too much.
True. And talking about that, I would love to ask, what's a design opinion that you have that you strongly believe in, that if you mention it, it could literally get you cancelled? What's the design opinion?
Honestly, that's such a funny question. Like, I like that can get me cancelled.
It's a strong opinion.
I
It
don't
may
think
not get you cancelled, but
no, like let's do it accordingly. But
take your time.
honestly, like nothing's really coming to mind. But I think, like, if you think it's pretty, it's enough. I think most of the time we design for an audience.
Yes.
Most of the time we design for an audience, and
Yeah.
I'm big on some things are meant to be created for you and you
You're
alone.
alone.
And when I was in secondary school, like when I think of some of the things I would do with art, I loved abstract drawing. I loved it. I hated intro tech. There's so many rules. When it came to, okay, I'm doing engineering, I love the rules. But when it comes to like design, I love when there are no rules. I can just express myself, and
Full
the
creativity.
fact that I think this is pretty is enough. So if you think something is pretty, it's enough. That's my that's
Pretty
my
is usable.
yeah, I think it's enough. Maybe not usable. Might not be usable, but I think that every design has innate value. And it's
Totally
enough.
agree.
If the creator is fine with it, then it's enough.
I totally agree. And with that opinion, do you think icon design is greatly underappreciated, especially in the African tech or in design in Nigeria? Do you think being an icon designer is underestimated?
I don't think it is underestimated, right? Most of the people that I've that I run into, and when I tell them what I do, they are genuinely impressed. They say, "Oh, wow, I didn't even know you could,
Do this.
specialize this way. I didn't know that, we've reached this point in our ecosystem." So I don't think it's underestimated. We're all like in this tech ecosystem. We know when like things started with Andela and everything, we're still growing. It's
Sure.
just that we've not, as we grow, we will be able to specialize even deeper and be able to, explore in depth all the facets of design. So I don't think it is underestimated.
Underestimated. That's really amazing. I know you talked about people really looking into your work. As an icon designer, how is your day-to-day like? Is it typical? I do product design, and sometimes we have to start with empathy. It's a general rule. Think about your users. Like you mentioned, we think about users most of the time. But in your role, how is your day-to-day like? How is it run? How do you work?
So, right now, like I usually work on contracts, right? And when it comes to icons, it depends on the needs, like of the project. Sometimes some people want like a full-blown icon set with an
Yeah.
icon style guide, and there's a whole system. You could think like 400 to 1,000 icons,
Yeah.
large number.
400 to 1,000 icons.
I think like when it comes to icons, that's even like maybe on the smaller side, because usually you'd want to like
Wow.
set a base and then be able to organically like expand.
Yeah.
But if you get an icon set that is like 400 or 1,000, it doesn't do much. I think the baseline is like maybe 3,000. If you check out Phosphor and
Yeah.
like the different huge icons,
Huge icons.
I think you'd see that you need thousands or more to be able to satisfy the need of a product.
Yeah.
So In talking about the process, it usually just starts with like defining, okay, what's the end goal? Are you creating something that is more like brand aligned? So, marketing stuff, you just want to like lean maybe into illustration, something more stylized,
Yeah.
and also it depends on what the goal is. But if I would go about the average flow, it just starts with um, figuring out what concepts we're representing, right? And then what's the brand direction? How does the icons, how do they fit into the brand? Because
Yeah.
usually it's just like an extension of the brand identity. And once you have your concepts done, you go about searching on the metaphors that you want to use to represent these concepts.
Yeah.
And once you're done with the metaphors, then you could like start sketching. And once you've sketched, you have variations of the sketches for the different metaphors. And then when you settle on the right variation, then you could now like maybe bring them into whatever design tool that you use to vectorize them, and then you review. There's just a lot of review and review, and then there's prepping for production, be it's going to be used in a physical space or being used on the web, because
Yeah.
those things also influence how you make the icons and how you hand them over.
That's very deep. Talked about volume of 3,000 icons, and that's to a newbie. That's like so much, right? And in your journey, have you ever had a moment where you feel like, oh, more, I'm tired. I want to quit. I don't want to do this icons again.
And I think like one sets that I worked on. So usually when you're thinking of 3,000, it's usually not like a one person job, and it's not something that you just do in an instant.
Yeah.
So usually if you're creating custom icons for a brand, they might have like an existing list of like the high priority icons that they use in like really front facing parts of their products, and they want to, revamp them. So you could see like, especially if you're coming, if you're coming to like a single person. But there are times when I work in association like with an agency where I come in to help. But you would usually, most of the time, you're creating a base icon set and an icon guideline, and you're handing it over to a competent design team that will be able to expand it as needs of the design team grows. So that's usually the angle, right? But I think, this, so I want to save it for later in case you ask for a regret.
Okay. That's fine. And one of my very good question that's very popular in the space is the difference between a good designer and an exceptional one, right? A lot of misconceptions are happening. Some people feel like for you to be an exceptional designer, you must have had like 20 years or 10 years of experience in the field, So what do you think makes a good designer from an exceptional designer?
I think that the whole using time as a metric,
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that, right? Because at what point did Picasso become Picasso? Right? I think that from the very beginning, especially if you like work with times, you'll be able to tell, like, it's almost like there's a seed,
Yeah.
right? The seed turns into a tree. You'll be able to spot that this person cares about their work, cares about their craft. And how long it takes for it to be obvious to everyone varies. It might take 2 years for you to, and I feel sometimes, have you ever seen like maybe there's work you did like maybe when you're like a year or two into design and you really love that, and then sometimes you feel like there's a high score that you have to,
Match.
you have to top up. So I think that whole concept of metric of time, I'm not so sure about it, but I think it's a seed, it's a trait that you carry with you. You've always been exceptional,
Yeah.
right? And it keeps showing up as you continue to grow. But it's always been a trait that you had.
So continuity breeds exception. Being consistent, just continue building. That's amazing to hear. And regarding that, you've moved from just being an icon designer to being an icon designer to some of the biggest brands. How did that journey happen? Like, what brought that attention from a big company to like, oh, I want to work with Linda Ojo from Africa, from Nigeria. What brought that attention to you?
I think this kind of ties to what I spoke at UDC 2025, and the title of the talk was Designing Authentically for Big Stages, right? The whole following of curiosity, and from some of my answers to things, you can see where I'm a big person when I say that you have innate value,
Yeah.
and you have to show that you believe that you have innate value. You have to work on the ideas that you have, and you have to put it out there. So with stuff like Figma or Shimblack or any of those brands, it's just me creating the things that I authentically care about and posting about them online. That's why I have it like a love-hate relationship with Twitter, because I have like most of my networks and like really great people I met them on Twitter. Right, but sometimes it can be toxic and distracting, and it's really fun, and you want to be productive, so you use your social media time, but showing up when I post, when I show up on there, things happen, opportunities come. So it's such a great platform. But yeah, so it's just like doing things you care about, talking about it online, putting yourself out there. Yeah.
I totally agree. And putting yourself out there, you also mentioned about your talk at UDC, which is one of the biggest design conference in Africa. And this is just us talking. What advice would you share to your junior self? Just look at me as, oh, this is Marvin just starting out. What advice would you give me coming out? Okay, right now, especially with the current technologies coming up, AI coming up, a lot of people are scared. Even the big companies are telling us that this tool will take our job. What advice would you give a junior designer who is just looking to find their way in terms of how can I get to this big stage of, okay, people value my work,
I don't think getting to the big stage is the goal. It's almost like a byproduct, right? You're solving problems that you care about. You're improving yourself. You're creating value. Getting to those spaces is a byproduct. It's a side effect that happens. But if you put that as the focus, you might lose out on actually, building or honing your craft. So it's like putting the cart before the donkey. Yet, so focus on doing great work, and people looking for great work will find you.
Focus on doing amazing work. So if you're listening to this, focus on doing great work. And I think that I would say, what is your most favorite project? You have worked so many years. You attended or you spoke as panelists on the first UDC, which is like 2023. So talking about 5 years now, 3 years now. What is the most exciting project you've worked on, and what really made it exciting?
I think I really have fun with my personal projects.
Personal.
Right? I really love having fun with my personal projects. And those projects, you guys should watch the talk, because I broke it down and made a connection. The projects that converted, that had leads. It was always when I made something that I just wanted to for myself, and then someone else that wanted something similar would come and ask for it. And that's exactly what happened with Figma, right? I was just like creating icons and styles that I felt were missing, like bringing my own perspective to the whole space. And talking about it and sharing is just like showing that, okay, my intention was not to show that, oh, the Figma tool can be used in this light, but they saw someone that was, showing the range that their tool provided, and they liked that. And that's just what it is. Yeah, but if I had to pick, obviously, working with Figma on the pixelated icons that ended up in Times Square, New York, was really a highlight. But one of the core favorite for me is an Olympic icon set that I created. Um, it was like setting to say if Olympics was happening in Nigeria and they had to pick an iconographer to, work on the pictograms,
Yeah.
what would it look like, right? So I really enjoyed that project because I had to like do research on different like core tribes within Nigeria, and I took inspiration from like the Benin tribe, Igbo, Hausa, and was able to like find a blend that I felt really translated and represented wh- who we are as a people in light of sports.
That's amazing. And in light of that, are we going to be expecting a World Cup icon set from you?
Yeah, anytime something is happening, I'm always like, I should have like a calendar and create stuff before time. But let's say never.
All right then. And you've done amazing well. You've worked with some of the best or some of the amazing brands. What is iconography, to you? What's your definition? What's Linda's definition of iconography or being an icon designer?
I'll say I'll take the definition from a concept that I really like, which is concept of minimum expression, right? And in saying that, iconography is basically the act of stripping down concepts to their very essence, right? You're giving an idea you're meant to represent in a universal language. Rarely do you use words and text when dealing with iconographies. Though you could, always use them with labels, but they should be able to stand strictly on their own. So iconography is just representing concepts, the very essence of different concepts and ideas with symbols. It's a visual, universal language that you whip up.
The universal language. That's great. And regarding that, AI now can create so many languages. AI can do so many things. Are you scared of AI taking over your role?
I think at this point, I might be a fan of it.
Why do you say so?
No, like, I think AI is a tool, right? It helps us work faster. Many might not know, but when it comes to iconography, like there's a lot of research you have to do to find the concepts associated with an idea. There could be a lot of groundwork when you're handing over the icon set to the developer, especially like let's say in Figma, you're dealing with components, you have to generate tags
Yeah.
and and populate the component description. So like when you hand over, it's easy to use different terms to search through the whole icon family and find related, useful, relevant results. So I'm just trying to say like there's oftentimes like there's so much to the work that we do, and there's so much that AI can help with like in the different facets, but at the end we are the authority on what looks good. We are the ones that will approve and say, okay, this is fit to be used by a user. So having with the help that AI brings, and it's not the first time that the way of working would change. It happened with the advent of the internet. So it's great to be living through a time like this and just see things like really transform. Yeah, but yeah, I'm down for it.
So you feel like AI is your assistant.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
That's really amazing to hear. And talking about tools, talking about your assistant, you've really, really supported communities. You've spoken at a design conference. You've talked to a large audience. You have some of the greatest following on Twitter. I would say, what has community really played in your journey? Like what role has community played in your journey? Or are you a solo designer who, you work alone?
No, I think community is very important to me. I started my career as a dev because I was on Twitter and someone retweeted an opportunity about an internship, right? And that literally like changed the trajectory of my life. So whenever I see stuff, I try to share. But in general, And like when I came, like even as a developer, I was helping organize talks. I gave talks here and there, and it just feels like natural to always want to, you know, give back, like, give back in some way, be it is writing articles, giving tutorials, or even financially, like supporting, conferences.
Yeah.
So I think community is like the backbone of any ecosystem, and it's the human aspect. I don't think you should do without it. I do know that, like, when I look back, I kind of hope that, but like starting off with like iconography and everything, I did hope that, oh, it was more of like maybe I joined some iconography firm and just started working as everything. But because of like the nature of the work that I did, yes, a bunch of that was a bit like, lonely, just like you figuring things out and looking for resources on the internet. But in times like that, I was very happy to have conferences like UDC that I could attend, right, and meet up with like you guys and Kanayo and everyone. And so I would advise everyone that it's very important to like bond with other designers, irrespective of like your career, to attend conferences, like meet people.
Yeah.
That's where the magic happens. Like, can't just be, a loner. You have to meet. It might not be organic, but you have to make effort to, connect with others.
Connect with people. Then talking about community connection, one thing that's really popular in community is more like people want to get an idea of what is and what is not. So this is a question that hits home: is can you become a millionaire being an icon designer? Or no, let me rephrase that question: is what's the highest in terms of range? What's the highest you've earned from a project designing icons?
Honestly, like, I've earned like 3K for maybe 4 days of work.
Oh, wow, designing icons.
Yes. So like that's also the thing with like icons, right? Sometimes like it depends on the value the client,
Brains.
puts on it. And sometimes honestly it's like I've already like done some of the work and maybe I post about it, the person likes it, I'm just like giving them the files, right? So but in general, like even the whole concept of like having a ceiling to how much you earn, I think it's mental. people earn money doing the craziest things or things you wouldn't even like imagine, right?
Yeah.
Like for so I'm just trying to say that on TikTok or social media, you have people that have different social media pages dedicated to different things. Some people only talk about his feet, some skin. So I think there's this guy that just reviews football boots, right? And on YouTube. I think my husband watches it. But it's like, can you imagine that person from a young age saying that, okay, you see, all I'm going to do
It's a review food.
is going to review football boots. And he has a lot of, followers. So I'm trying to say that if you care about something and you're willing to do the work, you'll find ways to monetize it, right? And even with icons, like there's doing the project and then there's selling icons, right? You can sell your icons. There are many icon sets that might have a free section, also premium subscriptions. So irrespective of what you do, if you sit and think about it, there's usually an angle to monetize it, and don't just like put a cap on it. Like, don't be like me that when I saw growing up and I saw artists and I saw that okay, they were selling paintings by the roadside, I wasn't exposed and I assumed that, oh, if you become an artist you would sell paintings by the roadside. And I was just like, nope. But if I had exposure, I knew that there's so much more. You own galleries, you teach in schools. There's so many things you can do. So that whole, can you make this much? It's just like skill issue for them. Like if you want to, I think like you'd figure out ways. But even though yes, there are some careers like maybe you want to be in quant finance or something, like you easily this thing, but like don't put yourself in a box. Yeah.
That's really amazing. Put yourself in a box. that also really, really directs my next question. In the modern age, is being a generalist better than being a specialist? Because I know you are a specialist in your field, and I don't want to be biased in this answer. Is being a generalist the future, or being a specialist still outbids being a generalist?
I guess I would say maybe I present as a specialist, right, with icon design. But if you look at the timeline, there is, software engineering, UI UX design, then iconography, and then like bringing it together, working as a design engineer at the moment, right? And who knows, maybe I'll pick up the guitar next. I'm just trying to say that um, it depends on what you're optimizing for. You asked the kid what you want to be when you grow up, and the person said happy, and he said, you don't understand the question. But how smart are you if you've not figured out how to be happy? Right? So it just depends on what you're optimizing for. Be it you're a generalist or specialist, what works for you, what is fulfilling for you. I think sometimes a lot of the questions and or conversations that I had online are strongly geared towards, what could possibly make the biggest bank, or like, how much money. But I think that's at the point when you cross a number, once you're comfortable, it's like a number on the screen.
Looking for a millionaire.
So it's just like, but yeah, sure, it just depends on what you want to do. Whatever helps you solve the problems you want to do, then do that. Don't like,
Boxes.
yeah.
That's really amazing to hear. And you've done engineering, you've done design. From your own perspective, which skill or which role is very important in the growth of a product? Because engineers will always tell designers that, don't worry, without you guys, we can't survive. Designers will say, don't worry, engineers, without us, your products will not be used, right? So that is a very popular argument in design space. Engineers, designers, engineers, designers. So you, who is a design engineer, what role do you think is very, very vital in the growth or the success of a company, a product, or anything in tech?
You remember we were talking before, and I was saying like there's some spaces on that design Twitter that
You don't join.
before I even started posting about designs, I just knew that okay, I'm going to avoid this, right? It's like the question is like, oh, we're flying a plane, which is more important, the right or the left wing? Guy, you crash. I think that be it you're an engineer or you're a designer, right? One of the core things that would help you be a better teammate is being able to value the work that you can't do.
Yeah.
Value the contribution that your teammates make. So I don't think that you can pick between the other. I don't think you should pick, between the different teams. I think systems of solving problems are made from iteration, and over time we figured that okay, we need someone to handle the design, someone else to handle like the more technical stuff, right? And with modern, AI and everything, yes, roles are merging, but it doesn't mean that one is becoming obsolete. Yeah.
That's really cool. And regarding that, what lesson took you so long to learn, right? Maybe you've been trying to understand something, or throughout your journey from engineering, from the medical field to design now, what lesson took you so much to learn, but right now you've understood it as, okay, if I don't understand this now, I can't understand it again?
I think that I learned quickly to figure out what 20% of any concept is. Sometimes when you want to, especially because switching between different roles, you kind of find yourself like saying like, oh, I'm new, I'm starting over again, right? Like, how do I catch up? And one thing is learning how to catch up really fast and spotting out what the most important things you need to learn is and what are the things you can learn along the way, and not waiting till I feel, will I say, completely prepared and like feel like, oh, I understand everything relating to this before I step out, because I figured that stepping out with the perspective I have has been valuable. So I think in a way it's just like I've learned to learn better, because even the process of learning is in itself a skill.
Yes, true. That's really, really amazing to know. And in your journey, what are the wins that okay, let me strategize the question. What positioning do you encourage a junior designer moving forward? Like, okay, I want you to do like this because you've passed the stage, you've done a lot of stuff, you've learned a lot of lessons. So what lesson are you going to tell a designer, like, okay, do not do this, all right, do this. You've told us, okay, showing up, focusing on craft, focusing on personal projects. But what's that specific lesson that you will always tell someone, like, do not do this will cost this, right?
Yeah, genuinely, I'm not one to to give blanket statements, because I really call again authentic. Your journey is unique and stuff. But
Yeah.
from what you said, something that's coming to mind is, I think there could be the temptation to, I would say, make a whole meal. Like when you're starting off with design, you want to design a full product.
Yeah.
You're designing products back to back, because you are creating your portfolio or something like that, right? I also want to say that there is value in zooming in and working on smaller things like features, explorations, interactions, especially when you're hoping to put yourself out there or post more. And even when like you're working on projects, you don't have to post like the finished version or talk about the finished version of the project. Like you can talk about the process. So I think I would say it's, for a junior person, be okay carrying people along, being vulnerable with where you are, and knowing that yes, you're starting out, but even if you've been learning something for 1 week, there are insights you have that would be helpful to someone that just started today, and you could make their journey easier. So don't just like look down on yourself and everything, and be intentional about surrounding yourself with the right people, getting constructive, criticism, and just surround yourself with good vibes when you're at this early stage.
So lesson, do not work in isolation, do not be proud, as a junior designer. Is that what you're saying?
Like if you want to be proud, but like you get humble. Like I'm just saying that like you don't have to. There's value in the little things.
Yeah.
Step by step, 1% progress.
Every day.
Carrying people along and just posting about it, talking about it, mixing with the right people in the community. Like, yeah.
And thank you so much, Linda. We're almost rounding off, Jerry. I have a few questions, which is talking about trends. There are a lot of trends happening now in the space. Left here, you see graphic designers working on their own stuff, product designers, icon designers, and front-end engineers. So what trends do you see that is happening now? And do you feel like, okay, this will last for a very long time, or this won't last? So what trends are you seeing right now that actually matter in the design space, especially from an African perspective?
I think a current trend is, will I say, users defining what the interface is, right? We're coming from a point where, like with Web 2, everyone goes to the website and everyone has the same experience, right? And then, or is that Web 1, right? And then Web 2, with Web 1, everyone has the same experience on the website. With Web 2, then you have things like social media and Twitter, where people could all land on the same website but have like a customized experience, depending like different tiers and feeds and everything. And then there's Web3, which we don't talk about. And then now like things are happening where like some like people are almost building and interacting with the UI in real time, and defining what it looks like. So I do like that, and I see more of that happening. I think that they would, like, obviously, like, with the advent of AI, there are a lot of things coming up. I do see a less of a divergence happening, like a morphing, more overlapping. So less tools. Right now, we are so used to using so many different tools to like build, to interact, and I do see, like, with time, using less tools and everything happening in just one place. And I don't know what that tool will be. But yeah, everything would be happening in one place.
Thank you so much, Linda. And I think this will be our last question, but we have to, I wanted to talk about what's toasted to it as well. This question is, what would you pour a glass to celebrate today as a designer? What are you seeing in Africa? Because we're talking about challenges, talking about don't do this, do that. Well, what would you pour a glass to? Like, I'm seeing this happening in the design space. I'm seeing this happening in designers' life. What would you pour a glass to and say, I'm proud of what's happening in Africa?
Okay. I'll say that we're seeing more designers, African designers, come and share their own perspective, right? Sometimes there's a lot of like Western influence on what good design is. But design has always been here. We've always been designers. And I see more and more designers coming and, sharing their own perspective without any pressure to morph or to fit into pre-existing molds. And I want more of that for us. I want to see more work. I want to see more work that makes me feel things I've never felt before. Because I don't know if you guys, like, you have that moment when you see something and it's like a new taste.
Fresh
Exactly. So I see us really like doing more of that, and I'm excited to just be here to watch, to cheer people on as they've cheered me on in the past.
And cheers to that, Linda.
Cheers.
Thank you. And yes, that is a wrap. And before I ask you the last question, which involves like, what is your advice and what is more like a motivational speech, into the design space, I want to really appreciate you taking our time today, Linda, to join us to talk about design. And I really appreciate what you've done in the space, and I want you to also contribute more, right? Because growing as a designer, I always see my younger self like, what would someone tell me? How would I want to help myself, So thank you very much. And before you go, I'd love you to, share your word of advice, your word of encouragement. So our listeners listening to this conversation, Linda is an amazing person. You should go check her out on Twitter or LinkedIn, go support her work as well. And in return, she may also see your work, So what is word of advice, encouragement do you want to give to our audience today?
I think, sorry, but be yourself. It's cliche, I know, but it's cliche for a reason, right? And in being yourself, figure out what being yourself actually is. It will save you a lot of time. You don't want to look back and realize you've been acting in a show without an audience. It's always been just you and you're pretending for no one. Figure out who you are, what you want to do, and start doing it. Stop acting, stop playing, solve the problems you care about.
Thank you so much, Linda, for joining and having this amazing conversation with me.
That's so
As a
fun.
tradition, before you go, we would love you to write just one word that you stand by, your signature at the bottom, and we're good to go. And also, we have a gift for you. So, just one word, and I'll place this here. Okay.
Okay. Let me
That's
just.
what it is. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Linda. And
Thanks for having me.
you're welcome. And before you go, we have just one last gift. Take it
Oh,
as
I
well.
wonder what's in this long vertical box.
We appreciate
Thank you very
coming,
much.
and we thank you and appreciate you. And it is a wrap. Thank you, guys.
That's nice.
Thank you.